The strongest, most enduring bodies in history were built almost entirely without meat. Not with protein powder, not in a lab. On beans, seeds, and ancient grains your great-grandmother would recognize on sight. The idea that you need meat to build muscle is not just wrong, it never was true. Soldiers, laborers, and messengers crossed whole empires on foot, fueled by plants. Here are 20 of those foods, ranked from simply useful to genuinely powerful. And number 7 is a mountain seed the Inca guarded so fiercely that emperors planted the first crop with tools made of gold. Now, before I show you the foods, I want to give you something the usual list videos leave out. Because a list of foods, on its own, has never built a single pound of muscle on anyone. What matters is how you use them. So along the way, I am going to hand you the actual numbers, the 2 things that have to happen for a plant to turn into muscle, and 3 stubborn myths that quietly hold people back. Stay with me, because the part most people get wrong is not which foods to eat. It is how much, and what you do with your body while you eat them. Let me start with the reframe, because it changes everything that comes after. For years, the assumption was simple. Meat builds muscle, plants do not. And if you skip meat, you had better be ready to shrink. It sounds obvious. It is also, at this point, contradicted by the research. In 2023, scientists at the University of Exeter ran a careful study comparing a high-protein vegan diet against a high-protein diet built around animal foods. They measured the rate at which the body was actually assembling new muscle protein, hour by hour. The result surprised a lot of people. When the total protein was matched, the plant eaters built muscle at the same rate as the meat eaters, same climb, no penalty. And this was not a one-off. An earlier trial out of Brazil put habitual vegans and habitual meat eaters through the same 12 weeks of strength training, with protein matched between the groups. Both groups gained the same muscle and the same strength. The plants held their own start to finish. So here is the honest version of the truth. It was never the meat itself that built the muscle. It was the protein inside it, and the training that gave the body a reason to use it. Plants carry that same protein, which means the real question is not whether plants can build muscle. They can. The question is whether you are giving your body enough of them, and whether you are giving it a reason to build. That reason has a name, and we will get to it. First, the numbers, because this is where most people are quietly under-eating without realizing it. Here is the part that matters, especially if you are over 50. As we age, our muscles get a little harder of hearing. Scientists call it anabolic resistance, and the plain English version is this. When you were 25, a small amount of protein was enough to switch on muscle growth. After 60, that same small amount barely gets the message through. The muscle is still willing, it just needs you to knock louder. That is why the old recommendation, the one printed on the side of the cereal box, is set too low for anyone trying to stay strong later in life. A large group of researchers known as the Prot-Age Study Group looked hard at this and landed on a clear recommendation. Healthy older adults should aim for roughly 1 to 1.2 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight every day. For a lot of people, that is somewhere between 80 and 100 grams a day. And here is the piece almost nobody hears. It works far better when you spread it out, roughly 25 to 30 grams at each of 3 meals, instead of a token amount at breakfast and a pile at dinner. Why does the timing matter so much? Because of something called the leucine threshold. Leucine is one of the amino acids inside protein, and think of it as the ignition key for muscle growth. Below a certain amount at a meal, the engine will not turn over. Above it, the engine fires. For most people, that key turns at somewhere around 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single sitting. This is where plant foods ask a little more of you, because gram for gram, many plants carry slightly less leucine than meat. It is not a wall. It just means your plate needs to be a little fuller or a little smarter to turn the key. And that is exactly what the 20 foods coming up are going to help you do. So keep that frame in your head as we go. You are aiming for enough total protein for the day, a real dose at each meal, and enough of that ignition key, leucine, to actually start the process. Miss that, and even the best food on this list is just a healthy side dish. Hit it, and these humble foods become the same muscle-building machinery that carried entire civilizations. 20 foods, then, ranked from simply useful to genuinely powerful. And after the countdown, I will give you the 3 myths and the 1 kitchen habit that quietly doubles what your body absorbs. Let us get into it. Food 1, lentils. We start with one of the oldest cultivated foods on the planet, eaten for more than 8,000 years by farmers, soldiers, and royalty alike. A single cooked cup delivers around 18 grams of protein, and it costs less than almost any other protein source in the store. 18 grams for pennies. That is nearly a full meal's worth of the target we just talked about from a food most people walk right past. And lentils are not just protein. They are loaded with iron and folate, the nutrients that help carry oxygen to working muscles, which is exactly what you need when you are training and recovering. Red lentils cook down soft and creamy in about 20 minutes. Green lentils hold their shape for salads and meal prep. This is not a humble bean. It is one of the most reliable muscle foods humanity has ever known. Food 2, chickpeas. If you have ever eaten hummus, you have already tasted one of the oldest protein traditions in human history, grown around the Mediterranean and the Middle East for thousands of years. A cooked cup brings about 12 to 15 grams of protein, along with fiber and slow-burning carbohydrates. And that combination matters more than it sounds. When you are building muscle, you do not just need protein, you need fuel to train hard enough to earn it. And chickpeas give you both in one bowl. Roast them crisp for a snack, blend them into hummus, or grind them into flour for high-protein flatbreads. Food 3, black beans. Across the Americas, long before grocery stores, black beans were a cornerstone of survival, paired with corn and squash in a trio that kept whole populations strong. They give you around 15 grams of protein per cooked cup, and they are rich in lysine and leucine, that ignition key we talked about. This is why beans and grains together were such a stroke of ancient genius. But hold that thought, because the way most people explain that pairing is actually a myth, and I will clear it up right after the countdown. Food 4, tofu. Now we reach one of the most surprising entries on the list. Tofu has been made in East Asia for nearly 2,000 years, pressed from soybean curds into a soft block that soaks up any flavor you give it. Soy is one of the very few plant foods that carries all 9 essential amino acids in good proportion, which makes it a complete protein. And remember that Exeter study, the one where plants matched meat? Soy is a big reason plant diets perform so well. Research going back years has shown that soy protein can build strength and muscle just as effectively as whey, the most popular powder on the market, when it is paired with training. Extra firm tofu gives you the most per serving, roughly 10 grams in a modest portion, and it grills, bakes, scrambles, and stir-fries. Its blandness is its superpower. It becomes whatever you want it to taste like. Food 5, tempeh. If tofu is the gentle cousin, tempeh is the older brother who lifts. Born in Indonesia, it is made by fermenting whole soybeans into a firm, nutty cake. And because it uses the whole bean, it packs even more protein, around 18 to 19 grams in a 3-ounce serving. That rivals many cuts of meat. And the fermentation does something clever. It makes the nutrients easier for your body to absorb, and adds beneficial bacteria that support your gut, which plays a bigger role in recovery than most people realize. Keep the word fermentation in mind, because at the end I will show you how to use that same trick on almost everything else on this list. Food 6, edamame. Before soybeans become tofu or tempeh, they start as edamame, the young green pod. Just half a cup delivers around 9 grams of complete protein, making it one of the rare snacks that gives you every essential amino acid in a form you can eat straight from the freezer with a pinch of salt. Most snacks leave you with empty calories. This one hands you real building blocks. For something this convenient and this complete, it is remarkable how many people overlook it. Food 7. Quinoa. This is the one I promised you. High in the Andes, an ancient people called this the mother of all grains and treated it as sacred, so precious that emperors planted the first seeds of the season with tools of gold. Here is the twist. Quinoa is not a grain at all. It is a seed, and it is one of the only plant foods on Earth with all 9 essential amino acids in a complete profile. A cooked cup gives you around 8 grams of protein, plus the carbohydrates your muscles burn during a hard effort, so it fuels and rebuilds at the same time. It cooks in about 15 minutes and works in everything from a breakfast bowl to a dinner side. For thousands of years, it kept mountain people strong at altitudes where almost nothing else would grow. Food 8. Hemp seeds. A food that got tangled in confusion for decades, even though humans have used it for thousands of years. Hemp seeds are a complete protein, around 9 to 10 grams in just 3 tablespoons, and they are remarkably easy to digest, with studies showing digestibility above 88%. That number matters because protein you cannot absorb is protein you did not really eat. They also carry a good balance of healthy fats and magnesium, a mineral your muscles need to contract and relax properly. No cooking required. Sprinkle them over oatmeal, blend them into a smoothie, scatter them on a salad. Food 9. Pumpkin seeds. Every fall, millions of people carve a pumpkin and throw one of the best recovery foods inside it straight into the trash. A single ounce of pumpkin seeds delivers around 8 to 9 grams of protein, and it is extraordinarily rich in magnesium and zinc, 2 minerals that are critical for muscle repair. Magnesium helps your muscles work and relax. Zinc helps rebuild tissue after you have worked it. Think of them as tiny recovery capsules grown right inside a vegetable. Roast them, salt them, carry them as a portable snack. Once you understand what they hold, you will never rake them into the garbage again. Food 10. Green peas. Do not let their size and sweetness fool you. A single cup of green peas carries around 8 to 9 grams of protein, which is remarkable for something most people file under vegetable side dish. Peas also carry meaningful amounts of leucine and lysine, which is exactly why pea protein has taken over the supplement aisle, offering 25 to 30 grams per scoop with a gentle, easy-to-digest profile. But you do not need the powder. Plain frozen peas are cheap, quick, and quietly powerful. Food 11. Spirulina. Here is a history almost too remarkable to believe. More than 500 years ago, the Aztec people scooped a blue-green algae off the surface of a lake with fine nets and dried it into cakes. It was an essential protein source for as many as 1.5 million people, and their fastest long-distance messengers relied on it to carry word across the empire. Spirulina is one of the most protein-dense foods ever found, with all the essential amino acids and roughly 4 grams of protein in a single tablespoon. One small caution. It is potent, so use it in modest amounts blended into a smoothie, and choose a trusted source. This is not pond scum. It is one of the oldest performance foods on Earth. Food 12. Seitan. One of the most surprising muscle foods in all of history, and by legend it was discovered by accident by Buddhist monks searching for a meat-free food more than 1,000 years ago. Seitan is made from wheat gluten, worked and washed until it becomes a dense, chewy meat-like food. And the number stops people cold. It delivers a remarkable 20 to 25 grams of protein per 3.5-ounce serving, right up there with many cuts of meat. One important note. Because seitan is pure wheat gluten, anyone with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity should avoid it completely. For everyone else, it is one of the highest protein plant foods you can put on a plate. Food 13. Amaranth. A tiny golden seed, so important to ancient Mexico, that it was woven into sacred ceremonies. Amaranth is a complete or nearly complete protein, around 14% protein by weight, and it is especially rich in leucine, an amino acid most grains badly lack. Think of it as nature filling in the gap that ordinary grains leave behind. It also carries calcium, magnesium, iron, and manganese, minerals that support both strong bones and proper muscle function. It cooks into a porridge or pops like miniature popcorn. Food 14. Chia seeds. The word chia is said to mean strength, and that is no accident. The Aztec and Mayan peoples carried these tiny seeds as a portable energy food on long journeys. Chia is a complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids, around 4 to 5 grams per 2 tablespoons. But its real gift is staying power. When chia meets liquid, it swells into a gel that slows digestion and releases energy gradually, along with fiber and omega-3 fats. Stir them into water, blend them into a smoothie, or soak them overnight into a thick pudding. Food 15. Peanuts. Despite the name, peanuts are not nuts. They are legumes, cousins of beans and lentils, and they have quietly fueled hardworking people for generations. Peanuts are one of the highest protein options in their category, around 7 grams per ounce, and 2 tablespoons of peanut butter bring about 8. They are dense and full of healthy fats, which makes them a great way to add protein and honest calories when you are trying to grow. One gentle reminder, they are calorie-rich, so keep the portions reasonable, and of course, anyone with a peanut allergy must avoid them entirely. Food 16. Almonds. Few foods carry as deep a history, treasured for thousands of years across the Middle East and Mediterranean, and mentioned in the oldest texts. An ounce of almonds provides around 6 grams of protein, along with healthy fats, vitamin E, and magnesium, that key mineral for muscle function. They give you slow, steady energy and building blocks for recovery in a form you can carry anywhere. Like peanuts, they are calorie-dense, so a sensible handful goes a long way. Food 17. Farro. This one fed marching armies. Farro is one of the oldest cultivated grains in human history, an ancient form of wheat, and Roman legions reportedly relied on grain rations like it to march and fight across vast distances. A cooked cup delivers a generous 6 to 8 grams of protein, far more than most refined grains, along with fiber and slow-release carbohydrates. Those carbohydrates are not optional when you are building. They refill your energy stores and spare your protein for the actual work of repair and growth. Farro has a nutty, chewy bite that is deeply satisfying in soups, salads, and grain bowls. Like all wheat, it contains gluten, so those with celiac disease should skip it. Food 18. Nutritional yeast. It sounds strange, and it has a devoted following for good reason. Nutritional yeast is a deactivated yeast sold as golden flakes with a savory, cheesy flavor, and it offers around 5 grams of protein in a couple of tablespoons. Better still, it usually comes fortified with vitamin B12, a nutrient that is famously hard to get from plants alone, and one that anyone eating this way needs to think about, because it supports your energy and your nervous system. Sprinkle it over popcorn, stir it into sauces, dust it across pasta. It adds a cheesy taste with no dairy and quietly works for your muscles at the same time. Food 19. Oats. You probably already own this one, and you may not know how powerful it is. A cup of cooked oats provides around 5 to 6 grams of protein, far more than most people expect from a bowl of breakfast cereal, combined with slow-digesting carbohydrates and a special fiber called beta-glucan that releases energy gradually. That makes oats one of the best foods to eat before you train. Steady power with no crash. And here is the real trick. Oats are a base. Stir in hemp seeds, chia, peanut butter, or almonds, and you have just stacked 4 foods from this very list into one muscle-building bowl. Food 20. Buckwheat. We finish with a food whose name is a lie. Despite being called buckwheat, it is not wheat, and it contains no gluten at all. It is a seed related to rhubarb, grown across Asia and Eastern Europe where little else will. Buckwheat is one of the rare plant foods with a complete amino acid profile, and it is particularly rich in leucine, the amino acid most grains lack. A cooked serving brings a solid dose of protein, plus magnesium and manganese for muscle function and recovery. Cook the groats like rice, grind them into flour for hearty pancakes, or eat them as the traditional soba noodles of Japan. It asks for almost nothing and gives back a great deal. So that is the countdown, from the humble lentil to the misnamed buckwheat seed. But if I stopped there, I would be handing you the same incomplete story most videos do. Because knowing the foods is the easy part. Using them well is where strong people separate from frustrated ones. So let me give you the 3 myths that quietly hold people back, and then the 1 kitchen habit that gets you more muscle from the exact same food. Myth 1. You have to combine complementary proteins at the same meal. You have probably heard it. Beans are missing 1 amino acid, rice is missing another, so you must eat them together in the same bowl or it does not count. It is a tidy idea, and it is outdated. For decades now, nutrition scientists have understood that your body keeps a running pool of amino acids from everything you eat across the day. If you have lentils at lunch and rice at dinner, your body still assembles the complete picture. You do not need to become a chemist at every meal. You just need variety across the day and enough total protein. That single correction takes an enormous amount of pressure off eating this way. Myth 2, and this is the big one. Food alone builds muscle. It does not. Not the lentils, not the tofu, not the sacred algae the Aztecs ran on. Food supplies the bricks, but bricks do not stack themselves. The only thing that tells your body to actually build new muscle is using that muscle against resistance. That can be lifting weights, it can be resistance bands, it can be push-ups against a wall or standing up out of a chair without using your hands. Remember that Brazilian study where vegans and meat eaters gained the same muscle? Both groups trained. The food mattered, but the training is what turned the food into strength. If you take one thing from this entire video, take this: eat the plants, and then give your body a reason to keep the muscle you are feeding. Myth 3. It is too late, or you are too old to build muscle from plants. This one is simply false, and it may be the most important to bury. The research on older adults is remarkably hopeful. Muscle stays responsive well into your 70s and 80s. You can absolutely build it. The catch we talked about earlier is that after 60, your muscles need a slightly louder signal, which means a bit more protein per meal and enough of that ignition key, leucine, to fire the process. That is not a reason to give up. It is simply the instruction manual, and every food on this list can be part of it. Now the kitchen habit, the one that quietly upgrades everything. Many beans, grains, and seeds carry natural compounds called phytates, sometimes called anti-nutrients, that can block a portion of the minerals and protein from being absorbed. Here is the good news. You can strip a lot of that away with almost no effort. Soaking your beans and grains overnight, sprouting them, or fermenting them, the way tempeh is made, all measurably reduce those phytates and free up more of the iron, zinc, and protein inside. Studies on soaking and sprouting legumes have shown clear improvements in how much mineral the body can actually take up. So, soak your lentils and beans before cooking. Let your grains sit in water overnight. Reach for fermented options like tempeh when you can. Same food, same cost, more of it actually reaching your muscles. That is as close to free as nutrition gets. Let me pull this all together into something you can carry out of here in one piece, because that is what actually changes a body. If you remember nothing else, remember this pattern. First, aim for enough protein for your size, and if you are over 60, aim a little higher than the old advice, somewhere around 25 to 30 grams at each of 3 meals. Second, build those meals from the foods we just covered, and lean on the heavy hitters when you can. Seitan, tempeh, lentils, tofu, and a scoop of pea protein on a busy day. Third, prepare them well, soaked, sprouted, or fermented, so more of that protein reaches your muscles. And fourth, the one that ties it all together. Give your body a reason to build by working your muscles a few times a week. Food plus resistance. That is the whole engine. Everything else is a detail. Here is your one small step for today. Do not overhaul your kitchen. Just take your next meal and build it to hit that number. A cup of lentils is 18 grams. Add a scoop of hemp seeds and a side of quinoa and you have cleared 30 without a scrap of meat. Do that once. Notice how it feels, and let it become the meal you know you can always fall back on. You do not need perfection here. You are looking for a pattern you can repeat, not a diet you will quit by Friday. Because the truth we started with holds all the way through. For thousands of years, messengers, soldiers, laborers, and entire civilizations grew strong on lentils, beans, seeds, and humble grains that cost almost nothing and grew almost everywhere. The idea that you need meat to be strong was never true. The plants were always enough. You just have to eat enough of them and give your body a reason to use them. If this changed the way you think about protein, pass it along to someone who has been told they need meat to stay strong as they age. It might be the most useful thing you share all week. And tell me which food surprised you most. Were you shocked that monks discovered Seitan? That the Aztecs ran on Spirulina? Or that the oats already in your cupboard have been quietly building strength every single morning?